I would like to introduce our second speaker for this leadership series, I guess we could call it, which is Julie Raskind, who was the president of the Rainbow Baby and Children's Foundation in 2006 and through 2008. So, Julie, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure.
I am going to warm us up a little with some rapid fire questions. And I just want to see what is it like to be Julie, okay? So Julie, coffee or tea or something else entirely? Ooh, coffee. Okay. Um, do you like it black or do you have a coffee preference?
No, I'm black first thing in the morning, can't do anything without it. 1 cup a day.
What was your first job ever?
I was a file clerk in high school at a local law firm. I went to Shaker Heights High School, and it was the first large building ever built in Shaker Heights. It's the large white building that's still there. And I was a file clerk for it was a workman's comp firm. And I did filing there. And then I worked there for summers for quite a while into my first year of college.
What is a book, movie, or show you always recommend to people?
I recently read a book. It's modern fiction called Freshwater for Flowers, and it's by a French author named Valerie Perrin. But what and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. What's amazing about the book was that it was written in French, but the translation is just remarkable because it is as beautiful as I imagine the French was in its original.
Well, if you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
I would probably go back a ways, probably to Abraham Lincoln, I think. And just to, you know, he the bar for him was so low. People expected nothing from him as a president, and his leadership, you know, just turned out, to be transformative, for this country. His his ability to speak and communicate, was just the anniversary of the Gettysburg Address, and the fact that in a mere 2.5 minutes, he was able to give probably the greatest speech of all time, and something that still resonates with us today.
What is something surprising about you that people might not know?
Well, there's guilty pleasures, which I think are always surprises about people, and one of my pleasures is the Three Stooges.
Oh, that was a surprise. Didn't expect that. What inspired you to get involved with the foundation?
Moved back to Cleveland in 2000 after being away for about 25 years. And one of my very close friends, who's been a friend from high school, Kim Meisel Pessis, was involved with Rainbow and said, I think this is a place you really should learn about. It's been really interesting. I've been on the board, and just let me tell you about it a little bit, and let me introduce you to some folks. So that's exactly what happened. And I know this is familiar probably to some who have done some board recruitment at Rainbow. It's a very orderly process, and you meet with people, and you kind of have an interview, an informal interview, not so different from the interview that we're having right now. And uh, they have always had wonderful pools of candidates, and more really great qualified candidates than there are spaces for. And so the first time my name came up, which I believe was in 2002, I was not invited onto the board at that point. There were many other lovely qualified people, um, and frankly, I was a little reticent to have another go at it, because you kind of feel like, okay, that's fine. I understand. There's great people out there. Um, but I think Kim convinced me to say, put your name in again, and so I did, and then was invited onto the board.
Well, that's a pretty good story. So you went from not getting onto the board for your initial nomination all the way to becoming the president. So how did that path lead to becoming president?
Well, it's a great question. When one becomes impassioned with the mission and vision of an organization. And the way I always felt about Rainbow was I was always incredibly inspired by the physicians and the researchers and the work that they do in terms of improving health for children. And I knew it was something I could never do. That's not who I am. That's not what I know. Science, medicine. But I can help them do their jobs, and I can help them do their jobs by supporting them, by raising money for them, by fundraising, by illuminating the work that they do.
I really enjoy hearing you talk about how Kim was such a great inspiration for you to become part of the board because we've interviewed one person before you, and that was Jill Clark. And Jill Clark said that you were her inspiration to get on the board and become the president. So I'm already seeing a pattern here that there's a lot of influence from good people that we trust and admire. And I love seeing this path that's going through. What was the most memorable project or initiative you worked on during your presidency?
Well, as you said, I was president from 2006 to 2008, and I followed Ann O'Brien. And Ann was the president who negotiated the largest gift that we had ever made to the hospital at that time, and that was truly a transformative gift. I think it was 26.5 million, but Maria can for sure help me with those facts. And but it wasn't just the money; it was the way that the money was allocated. And one of the ways it was allocated was in matching grants. So through the research that we had done, that Anne had done, and some of the previous presidents, we knew that we were far behind in terms of endowed chairs for our physicians compared to other children's hospitals. So part of the gift was a matching grant. Um, because at the time, I believe the amount to raise a chair was $2 million. And so we did a matching grant to inspire people to have a named chair, and we would grant. It wasn't an equal amount, but Maria will again be able to help me with exactly what the dollar amounts was. But it inspired. We raised over 10 chairs, and it was quote unquote sold out. So we actually put some more money into that because we really made a huge impact in increasing the number of endowed chairs. When we made that very large gift, um, the development office, what we call IRD, was essentially, it was a whole new set of people. And we had not, as the foundation, or because we weren't called the foundation then, but we had not been very well supported at all by the development office at the hospital. And uh, it was a real place of frustration for the foundation. And several presidents before me, we did a ton of research. We hired our own consultants to be able to compare the fundraising that we were doing as a children's hospital compared to other hospitals that were in our cohort, in terms of the care that they delivered, but really trying to understand where we stood in terms of fundraising. And we were far, far below that. And that was the impetus for changing the entire development uh, operation for the hospital for UH. So it was a whole new range of people that we were working with, and we felt it was really important, if we're going to make this huge gift to the hospital, that we have accountability, that we have accountability with metrics in terms of what they can do and what we can do together, so that this gift can continue. We developed what we called a collaboration agreement, and it spelled out very specific metrics in the different areas that we would need to be able to raise money, whether it was restricted dollars or unrestricted dollars, whether it came from things like Children's Miracle Network or the Circle of Friends, or, however we were raising money, there were metrics around that. And it was my job to implement that collaboration agreement and to make sure that we were getting the data that we needed to get, that we were collecting the funds that we needed to get, that the funds were being properly transferred to the foundation, and that we were meeting with the heads of the hospital and with IRD to make sure that all of the covenants, if you will, within the collaboration agreement were being met.
I was curious, what was the most challenging part about being president and how did you navigate it? Maybe it's that project. It seemed really big, but maybe there's something else.
What we were seeing happening was we had amazing leadership throughout our history. Um, but as our own society shifted and we started to get professional women into the workplace and with background, with their professional experience, et cetera, started to get involved with the foundation, we took the foundation to a much more professional place. And I don't mean that in to throw shade anywhere, but it's just a matter of the societal changes that we were seeing. I mean, the women that came before us didn't have the same opportunities that we did in terms of being able to succeed in a workplace. And so I think the hospital was sort of getting used to the fact that we were becoming much more professional. I think the whole gift and the collaboration agreement and the way, the fact that we hired our own consultants to be able to identify problems and be able to address those problems, that was all new to them. And I'm not sure that they really understood uh, the nature of the changes that were happening and the powerhouse really that the foundation is and still is. There was always a push pull in managing our endowment because we have a very large endowment and it is under the auspices of Rainbow. It is not part of the hospital. And so there's always been that push pull there of, whose dollars are they, and are we managing them in a professional way and in a way that uh, meets standards um, in terms of asset management and running a foundation. I just think that was an evolution. And so and with this collaboration agreement too, it was a place where we were, making our line in the sand of saying, we want to support the hospital. We want to do everything we can. We have the funds to do it. We know how to do it strategically, but here's what we expect from you.
Were there moments during your presidency that taught you something new about yourself?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know if it taught me something new, but it showed me, that I have capabilities that sometimes we forget about. And in terms of leadership and how uh, when we have leadership challenges, how to lead through those and to build consensus and to bring people along. And I think that the hospital did recognize the foundation um, for the amazing gift that we made and the way that we implemented the gift. We received during my presidency I think it's called the 1886 award. I'm not sure of the exact name. Maria will remember the name, but it's the annual award that the hospital gives out to philanthropists for making um, uh, uh, impactful gifts to the hospital. And the foundation was given that award, I believe it was in 2007. And I felt a little bad because it was really under Anne O'Brien that she worked so hard on the gift and the gift agreements, et cetera. But it was also wonderful to be recognized by the hospital for the entire history, of what the foundation had done, but at that moment for the historic gift that we made.
Is there a favorite story or moment from your time as president that still makes you smile when you think about it today?
What makes me smile are all the friendships that I have made, and the women that I worked with that I never would have known had not for Rainbow. And so, what makes me smile is when I get to see these women, whether it's through the annual events that the foundation has, or we run into each other. The warmth and sisterhood that we feel for each other is just tremendous, and they have all added so much to my life.
How do you stay connected to the organization's mission today?
I try to participate where I can in terms of what the foundation does. They have, always past trustee lunches and the holiday lunch. I I still know a couple people who are on the board, but I have to say less and less. And the other thing I'll say is I am so impressed with the caliber of women that are on the board now. I mean, when I think about we were on the board, I think, we had a great group of people, but we are the folks that are on the board now are just they're just real powerhouses, and it's just so exciting for me to see um, the really diverse group of women. And when I mean diverse, I mean in every sense of the word, in terms of where they are working, or what maybe they're not working, but they're doing different things, and what they have achieved. And it's a thing of beauty. And I often believe that so many organizations could take a lesson from the work that has been done in terms of recruiting really great board members, because Rainbow has just done a phenomenal job of that, better than any organization that I have been involved with.
Well, Julie, I know you say you know fewer and fewer people on the board now, but now you know me, so I can be your new bestie on the board.
I would love that. I would love that, because I know there are really exciting things going on, including the innovative products, projects like this, which I think are terrific. Rainbow, the foundation, before the foundation, when we were called the hospital, has an amazingly rich history, and the women that came before us did remarkable, remarkable things, and we could never have done what we did without them. So we stand on their shoulders for sure. The one thing we didn't talk about, and I probably should have brought up, was the first Ride the Rainbow. Because that was, I was the chair along with Beth Curtis of the first Ride the Rainbow in 2004. And how we got the name was interesting, because it was with Lance Armstrong before his name was sullied. Uh, and we were the first people to have the yellow bracelets. We sold those yellow bracelets. We probably made money off them, but nobody had ever had those kind of rubber bracelets before. So that was kind of the first time we saw those. And um, it was a first event. We had no help from the development office, because it was a completely different development office. Then they wouldn't even share lists with us in terms of invitees, etc. And we more or less pulled it off. There were definitely some issues, but we more or less pulled it off. But it's still there. It's is the point.
Okay, so Julie, one more question. Let's end this on a high note. In one sentence, how would you describe the impact of the Rainbow Babies and Children's Foundation?
The foundation forever changes the lives for the better in the city of Cleveland and beyond, for our kids and families.
Julie, it was such a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you for joining us.